Welcome to Point of View. I'm Pastor Josh Barnes. This is Justin Barnes, Jonathan Barnes, and this is the week after one of the best things that has happened in my lifetime to America took place. And no, Donald Trump was not reelected president. The Roe versus Wade, which we have to say is somewhat credited to Donald Trump, was overturned. This does stem a little bit from the work of Donald Trump. But from so many other people, and this is a wonderful thing. We're gonna spend the whole week talking about it. As you probably know, if you've been keeping up with Point of View, this is not going to be the first episode that we air. Of course, we kind of record them all together, then decide which order to release them. I think this one's probably not going to be the first one that we air. Anyway, the point is that this is our celebration week. We're going to spend the whole week talking about how wonderful it is that less babies are going to be murdered this week than were murdered last week. This is wonderful. It's also depressing. Right? It's depressing that it took 49 years for the court to say, oh yeah, maybe we shouldn't force states not to make laws to keep women from murdering their children. Maybe that shouldn't be a Supreme Court ruling. And what's probably most depressing about this is that three of our justices on the highest court in our land actually voted against overturning Roe versus Wade, which is a ruling that forces states never to make laws that ban women from murdering their children. Like this is ridiculous. Those three judges should be disbarred. They should be impeached for the worst kind, encouraging the worst kind of criminal activity, mothers murdering their children in a sane world. That's what would take place. But no, we do not live in a sane world, as we'll see today, because we have a lovely clip of a quote-unquote Christian who's very concerned that Roe versus Wade is overturned. And we're going to show that to you in just a second. Before we do that, guys, get in your little gloating here. Isn't this a wonderful thing? Roe versus Wade is gone.
Happy Pride Month. It's the best Pride Month ever.
I am proud.
It is now. I think we should rename it to Happy Pro-Life Month. I think we should take one for us. And I don't think June has anything else going on, so let's take June. June is now Pro-Life Month. I'm good with that.
Yeah, June 24th shall forever and hereafter be known as the Life Day. Let's name it Life Day, like in Star Wars.
Well, here's the thing: is if you, depending on your view of, well. It might play into eschatology, but depending on your view on the general way history is going to go, I think you very well might have a good chance that in the future, this will be called Life Day, because this is one of the greatest moments in American history. Though it is one thing we need to be clear is this is the start of the war, not the end. This is the kind of thing that talk about things that are depressing. Yes, three justices voting to still keep murdering as many babies as we can, but also the fact that states went along with this for 50 years. That should never have happened. There have been times in the past in history where the Supreme Court got it wrong and states disobeyed, and we eventually realized that it was wrong. States should have done that here too and never did.
Took a long time for states to disobey.
There is still some shame. Yeah, there's still some shame in this, but at least now we've at least taken one step in the right direction, and officially the war is on.
Yes. Now, we don't want to delay our viewers from seeing this clip because this is an interesting clip. But Jonathan, you've got to get in here. You went out and bought party hat and streamers, all the good stuff.
Yes.
You are in support of Roe versus Wade, aren't you?
You would think that, but no. Strangely enough, not. This has been by far my favorite Pride Month. We started off with What is a Woman, and we're bookending it on each end with some great victories, I think. I mean, like you said, there's still a long ways to go. The fact that not only you have three justices, but you have a lot of really upset, angry people. Even, I'm sure we all have in our Facebook feeds, Twitter, or whatever. Anybody, I'm sure you have a lot of people that that are reacting very poorly to this, and they're not very happy about this, and it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make sense to a lot of people, but there's a long ways to go. The battle needs to be fought in the court still. We still need to make this thing completely illegal. Obviously, that's not even close to being a thing yet. But we really need to fight for people's minds. What's going on that you are so upset that you can't murder a baby anymore? It's just bizarre.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I know we want to get to this video, but let me just say this real quick. Press the attack. Because there are people right now who, because they're so taken with emotion and they're so mad about this decision, that are willing to engage you. I have engaged a few people in the past 24 hours, because when we're recording, it was just yesterday this happened. But in the past 24 hours, I've engaged people who want to come out and have the discussion now. And they're wilting like dainty little flowers under the heat. They cannot face the arguments. They can't justify it. I've pressed a few people, and guess what? Posts are getting deleted like I have never seen before because they just can't take it. Press the attack. They just like the transgenderism thing, they can't win the argument. Go after them. Win the hearts and minds, win the arguments, and show people how empty their worldview is. And most importantly, call them to repentance.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what we're doing today. Okay, so here is, we're going to be responding to all kinds of different things all week long, as you've probably already seen. If you've been keeping up with the show day to day, we are on FISM TV, Right America Media, K-Star Conservative Radio Network. Although K-Star, you do have to listen to us a little late. It comes out on the shows that air from Monday through Friday are played on K-Star on Saturday. But however you're listening, thanks for joining us today. And you've probably been following us all week. Today, we are going to respond. Let me give you the name. This is Mary Katherine Backstrom, who did a live stream on Friday talking about how she's a Christian. And because she's a Christian, she is so saddened by the fact that Roe versus Wade is overturned. So we're going to play this, and it's about 8 minutes long. So we're going to try our best to get through the whole thing. I'm saying that to Justin because Justin... But we're going to try to respond to this.
We might get through a 10th.
This is, as you said, this is an argument that is winnable on every level. There is not an angle you can come at this and lose the argument unless you just give up. Because this is just so obvious. You don't murder children, period. Like, period. This obviously a child. You don't murder the child. It doesn't really matter what the rest of your reasoning is, because your conclusion is, because of X, I murder children. And the answer is no. There is no X for which we murder children. No, that does not. And you say, well, that's not it's not a religious thing. Well, I don't really care. It is a religious thing because God did say don't murder, right? That's in the 10 Commandments. But it doesn't really matter. You should know this. This is something that God isn't just in the 10 Commandments. It's something God put in your heart because every human being knows you don't murder children. This is just how we're born with this knowledge. So we're going to talk about this. Here is a Christian, Mary, who says that she disagrees with us. Shocking. And she's definitely wrong. By the way, this is the show where we're unashamed to look at political, social, cultural, and theological issues from a biblical worldview. So that's what we're going to do today, like we always do. Here we go.
I'm assuming some of y'all knew I was going to do this. I was actually torn because I'm on a road trip right now. But enough of my audience has asked me to talk about what's happening with Roe v. Wade because people are scared and devastated, and rightfully so. I'm going to start by saying that I am a Christian. I am a mother.
Let me just say right up front, you'll learn this later. No, she's not.
And there are very, very few circumstances in my life where I would ever consider terminating a pregnancy.
Now, notice what she just said. She just said there's very few circumstances in my life where I would ever consider murdering a child. That's what she just said. She disguised it with the phrase terminating a pregnancy. But we all know that when you terminate a pregnancy, you kill a living human child. So she's saying there's very few circumstances in life where I would ever consider murdering a child who is innocent, an innocent child.
She says she's a mother. She says she's a mother. I'd be afraid if I was her other kids. There are any circumstances where you would consider murdering one of your children.
Yeah, what she's the veiled thing she just said is to the children that she has that made it out of the womb alive, is given different circumstances, I would have killed you too.
Right.
Yeah. Rare. It would be a very, very difficult for me to make that decision, but I would kill you in certain circumstances. This is okay. Let's just acknowledge the biology. This is a living human being. Everybody knows this. There is no question about that. No doubt at all. It is alive. It is autonomous. And even though it is dependent, it's still autonomous. And it is a human. So it is a living human child that she says, very, very rarely would I consider murdering that child.
But I did experience one of them. So let me talk about that. I grew up in conservative Alabama, where I currently live. I was raised in a house where I was sexually abused from 2nd grade until 8th grade. While most of my family and loved ones are pro-life, there is not a single person in my circle that would dare tell me that if I had been impregnated by my abuser, that I would need to carry that baby.
What?
I would.
Listen, this is terrible. If what she's saying is true, and I have no reason to think that it's false, she was abused from, 7 years old, 2nd grade, up until 8th grade. That's 13 years old. This is horrific. This is terrible. Her abuser, which I think she's going to say later is her father, needs to be put to death. Period. End of conversation. He needs to be put to death. However, nobody in her circles, if she had gotten pregnant, if a child was living in her womb as a result of the terrible acts of her father, or whoever it was that was abusing her, no one would tell her, you shouldn't murder that child. No, it's horrific, yes, but the answer is murder the child. That it is a human child. This is ridiculous. If I was in her circles, I would tell her absolutely 100%. If it was my niece, if it was my daughter, if it was anyone in any circle around me, I would absolutely tell them, yes, you should carry that child, not murder it, because that's the only other option is murdering the child.
Yeah, the problem is these people live in echo chambers. So I believe her that no one would dare tell her, but that's because she surrounds herself with people who are going to tell her what she wants to hear, not what she needs to hear.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to make the conversation about what should happen to the abuser, let's do that. You know, like you said, the death penalty should be obvious for rapists. And then also on the other side of that, how about life imprisonment for those who would falsely accuse those of rape? You know, go down the line. Let's make these things more serious for those who would rape and accuse those of rape. So yeah, I'm fine with that.
Actually, I would say death penalty for both. But
yeah.
Sure,
As a matter of,
you could go either one.
Sorry.
If you're trying to get somebody a particular penalty with a false accusation, you should get the penalty you try to get them to have. That's just biblical standard, right there.
That seems fair. That does seem fair. However, that's not really the point here. Is you don't murder the child, right? That's what we're getting at today. But you're absolutely. I think you're probably right about that, Justin.
fact, it's proven that people had the moral high ground on this until it becomes their problem. And then magically they have exceptions to the rules.
Hold on, pause that.
I don't.
Hold up.
I don't have any exceptions. You don't murder babies. I don't have exceptions.
Did she really just basically say it's proven that people have a position that might be tough because you have to deal with a particular hard time, and then when they're faced with a hard time, they sometimes crack under the pressure? No shoot, Sherlock, duh. Of course, some people might talk a big game and then change their standards, which were a correct standard, because they ran into something they didn't want to have to deal with. That doesn't mean the standard was wrong. You dolt. That's not logic.
Yeah.
That's called people can be selfish and get and crack under pressure and become immoral because they don't want to deal with the consequences of, in 99+% of the cases, the consequences of their actions.
Yeah. And that's the point. Yes, people know that it's wrong to murder children. No, people aren't always, it's sad to say, but people aren't always more concerned about the murdering of children than they are about their own welfare. The fact is we should give up our welfare to make sure that children aren't murdered. Like that should just be common sense.
This seems to be her first attempt at, and I'm guessing the first attempt of many, but her first attempt at pulling this conversation into the weeds, which is what you will see with every single one of these people.
Yeah.
They will pull it into the weeds. They will try to make it about something it's not. It doesn't matter what people do under pressure. It doesn't matter. Answer the question. Why is it okay to kill babies? It's not. Yeah. End of story.
Not to cut you off, but I'm going to try to get as much of this played to get to. She does get to a little bit more of an argument here, so let's let her make that argument.
This is not just about abortion. This is about privacy in the bedroom. It's about medical privacy. And the overturning of Roe v. Wade has put up for argument the legal status of birth control, IVF, your right to privacy in the bedroom. Do you know that Roe v. Wade is the precedent and the standard that is the reason that we have legal gay marriage in this country?
Yes.
Do you know that Roe v. Wade is the reason that people can have certain types of sex that they prefer without...
By the way, your terms are acceptable. Your terms are acceptable. Yeah. Absolutely.
Let's take that one down too.
Now, real quick, Justin, I know Justin has a lot to say here, so I'm going to go to Jonathan first. But first, I'm going to get my 2 cents in. The fact that Obergefell, which is the ruling that says states cannot define marriage as between a man and a woman, that's the ruling. That whole ruling is based on the Roe versus Wade ruling. So Clarence Thomas rightfully said, "Listen, if we're going to overturn this, which we are because it was a wrong decision." It's probably smart for the court to reconsider the Obergefell ruling along with other rulings that are based on it. And that makes sense, right? That the whole point is that this is not this ruling is about saying we're going to try to undo this legislating from the bench that has been happening. Now, whether or not homosexuality should be illegal, and I think it should be, and whether or not we should define marriage between a man and a woman, and I think we should, because that is what a marriage is. That's what it always has been for all of history. You can't just redefine words like woman or marriage. Whether or not you do that, that's not actually the point of this ruling from the court. The court here is just saying that the court has no say in this, that the court needs to stay out of it. The court doesn't legislate from the bench. And so I think that's awesome. Even if you are pro gay marriage, which I think makes you not a very good Christian, you should still be for this, because this is saying the court needs to stay out of it.
And what Jonathan said...
I said I was going to let Jonathan get in first.
Sorry.
I'll be really quick.
Respect the rules.
The case for her being a Christian is really shady already.
Yeah.
But it's like you said. So Roe v. Wade was overturned not because they decided that you can't kill a baby. That's really not why it was. If that was the case, then it would be outlawed. It was overturned because of bad case law. It just is. And even Ruth Bader Ginsburg agreed with this and said that this is a bad decision and that it wouldn't stand up. She was pro-choice, but she said eventually this is going to go. This can't stand. It's just bad case law, which is why this is the first step of the fight. There's more to come.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think probably the most valuable thing we've said the whole time, though, is what Jonathan said at the end of our last pause segment, is don't take your eye off the ball. They're going to deflect a lot here. This is more deflection. Privacy in the bedroom you don't have the right to murder just because you want privacy in the bedroom. By the way, this has nothing to do with privacy in the bedroom, because you did what you did in the bedroom to cause the problem you have now. Yeah. So
the point
you had your privacy in the bedroom. It's the consequences thereof that you're now trying to deal with. Don't take your eye off the ball. This is, again, more deflection. This is not dealing with the point.
The whole point about this is your choice exists in the bedroom. After that, you don't have a choice. You have a child or you don't. That's up to God. You had a choice, and that was in the bedroom.
Being convicted of a crime? You guys, overturning Roe v. Wade means that if a woman has a miscarriage, she can be criminally investigated. Overturning Roe v. Wade means a pharmacist may not fill a prescription by the...
Yeah, I mean, this is just not at all what overturning Roe v. Wade means. That would be a pretty wacky world. But if someone has a dead baby there's nothing wrong with the law saying, okay, well, let's just confirm that this baby died, by accident. There's nothing wrong with that. I have no problem with that. If you find a dead body in your house, there's going to be an investigation. So I don't think that that's going to. I don't see how that could actually take place with a miscarriage. However, dead babies are still dead humans, and if an investigation happens, I see no problem with that.
Yeah, if your child dies, in the home, or something tragic happens, there's probably going to be an investigation then too.
Yeah,
and that's what should happen. As bad as it might be for you, and you didn't do anything, it's going to happen. Someone died.
Right.
Already happening. If a woman has a dead baby in her body, she will be forced to carry it.
Notice how she just admitted that it's a dead baby.
Yep.
But now it's because now she's saying because she's going to be forced to carry this dead human child. Now it's convenient for her argument to call it a baby, and so she's going to call it a baby, and then in just a few breaths she's going to call it a fetus. Watch this.
Because pharmacists will be terrified to fill the prescription that expels that fetus.
See that? It's a dead baby, then it's a fetus. Just based on whatever works best for her. Okay, listen. A fetus is just another word for a baby. Okay? That's what it is. It's a child at a different stage of development.
Overturning Roe v. Wade is screwing over your kids.
What?
It's allowing them to live. How more screwed
Not
over could you
murdering your
be?
kids is screwing them over.
Oh no.
But remember, guys, this is a Christian, and she bases her argument on her Christian standing. She's going to close with this, which we're not going to get to because we're almost out of time for today. We'll have to do a part 2 on this. She's going to close with this that it's all about her Christianity, and she's saying that not murdering your children screws over your children.
I think we can just let that one stand on its own.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That one's easy. That was pretty.
Because Tennessee already has legislation written that will make illegal contraception.
Jonathan, where's that little blow thing there? We're celebrating. That's wonderful. Go Tennessee.
By the way, it's not all contraception. We're just talking about the stuff that kills kids. That's the stuff that's now being illegal. Okay, so try the numerous other routes that don't kill the children. You don't need to kill the child. Even if you don't want to have kids, okay, there's a lot of options. Abstinence being the best one, but then there's a lot of other options that also lead to the same path of not having kids, and also with the benefit of not murdering them either.
Yeah, but it's not 100%. It's not 100%. So that's why you have sex only with people that you're prepared to have a baby with. Yeah, that's how that works.
Bingo.
Exactly.
And by the way, Clarence Thomas just wrote an opinion that is being published that is actually recommending that we make birth control illegal. So if you didn't see it...
Not. Nope,
he did
not.
not.
No, he did not. Nope, he said we need to reconsider those cases because of the precedent they are based on. He did not say we need to make birth control illegal. You're just spouting lies.
Yeah.
Yep.
Coming, and you didn't listen to us. Here it is now. Am I crazy, Irma?
Yes, you are.
I'm pretty freaking mad. And if you aren't mad, then I would say you're uninformed.
I don't really care if a murderer is mad. She already admitted she murdered one of her kids. I don't care if you're mad.
Well, no,
you should be dead.
No, what she has admitted that if she had gotten pregnant by,
she said, "I've
abuser.
witnessed one of them. I've witnessed one of them."
No, well, and I think she says this later because you guys are responding live to this. I've seen it before, and I'm pretty confident that what she's saying is that she has witnessed one of the scenarios in which she would have murdered a child.
She said that if she had gotten pregnant from
if she
did.
Now, maybe at the end she'll clarify. And I'm pretty sure that's what she says.
Maybe I misunderstood it. If that's the case, fine. But someone who's playing defense for murderers, then okay, sorry, we'll remove it by one step.
She's saying that if she would have been,
I still don't care what you think. If you're mad, I'm happy actually.
Yeah, she's still saying she's a murderer. She's saying she would have if the scenario was right. She would have murdered somebody. So
I care a lot about life, which is why I support Roe v. Wade.
And we'll leave it right there because our time's just about up. Jonathan and I are probably going to do a part 2 to this. So hang on until tomorrow, guys, because I know Justin's got to run. He doesn't have as much time to record with us today. But I care a lot about life. That's why I support Roe v. Wade. Guys, if you guys can sum up your thoughts on this Christian lady in 20 seconds, that would be great. Justin?
So she's not a Christian. She's despicable as a human being. She's defending murder. And I have zero shame in saying that murder should be punished. There should be the absolute weight of the law coming against people who murder, and that doesn't matter if you're inside or outside the womb. Thank God for Roe v. Wade being overturned.
Yeah. Jonathan?
Yeah, that's really my sentiments. I'm just here for the celebration. Yeah, I mean, this is something I never thought I'd see in my lifetime. The most monumental decision that's ever happened in my lifetime, for sure. And I hope it's not by the time I get to the end of my lifetime, because I want to see this thing outlawed for good.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, if Christianity requires repentance, that means you've turned and you said, I'm going to make Jesus the Lord of my life. That doesn't mean we always do right. But listen, if you're advocating for murder, that brings us serious questions upon your Christianity. And I agree. I don't believe this woman is a Christian. But we'll dive more into it next in the next episode. Join us next time. Thanks for joining us today on Point of View. Well, we're back. This is Pastor Josh Barnes and my brother Jonathan Barnes. This is part 2 of our response to Mary, who is a woman on Facebook who went live on Friday talking about how she's a Christian and she's for the continuance of Roe versus Wade. She's against overturning Roe versus Wade for all of these Christian principles. We've been very skeptical about her Christianity as we reviewed the first few minutes of this. Now we're going to try to finish off the video here. Justin had to jet out, can't finish it. But listen, in case you're just joining us for this one, you should go back and watch the other one. But we're celebrating the fact that less babies will be killed this week than were killed last week in America. We do have now something to be proud of this month in America. Though Pride Month, typically, we don't have a lot to be proud of. We have something to be proud of now. 6 judges on the highest court in our land have decided that killing children for convenience or for any other reason should not be legal. The 24th of June should be a national holiday. I mean, actually, in a sane society, there would be outrage about this decision because there are, in fact, 9 justices on the Supreme Court, and 3 of them actually voted in support of legal, indiscriminate murder of children. A moral society would, they would banish them, right? They wouldn't be part of the society anymore. These are depraved, degenerate individuals, and a moral society would disbar them. They would impeach these 3 justices because they're encouraging the worst kind of criminal activity, the murder of children, but we don't live in a moral society. So we're just going to thank God for the society that we have and thank God for this victory. Even though abortion is not now automatically illegal in every state, at least less babies will be killed going forward than have been killed. And we now have the opportunity to press the attack. We have the opportunity now to try to get less and less abortion in America and more life in America. If you don't want to have a baby, you know what you have to do. Okay? You know what causes a baby. That action is not necessary for those who don't want to have a baby. There is no reason that you have to participate in that action. And murdering a child is never the reason, even if it was from rape, and that's an extremely rare scenario. But still, the answer is not murdering a child. Jonathan, before we jump in, what were your first thoughts about our video from that we started last episode?
Well, if you watched last episode, you saw some of my thoughts. But yeah, she's a nut job. But it's pretty typical of what you'll see from the other side. And there's a lot of people on that other side. It's not like we're fighting against a super minority like we might, with the transgender argument and all these things, transgender amongst children and drag shows and story hour and all this stuff. That's pretty small but polls have shown that actually a majority of people do call themselves pro-choice, at least. Now, to what extent that is true, to what extent they're actually, for abortion maybe up to a certain stage and then not afterwards, we don't know. But there's quite a few out there. So, she's one of those people. Just pretty typical. I don't know why she calls herself a Christian. She doesn't strike me as a Christian in any way, shape, or form. She doesn't even try to back it up with any sort of Bible or anything that kind of reinforces, hey, I'm a Christian because of this, but I still believe this. Hey, remember, I'm a Christian. She doesn't really do that. She just kind of threw that out there, and then she's just going all the talking points, and it's just like, what makes you a Christian exactly? Because you call yourself one? Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's crazy.
Well, okay, and so far, just to catch everybody up, so far she has said that she's for life, and she would only in rare scenarios would she consider terminating a pregnancy, and one of those scenarios is the scenario that she has experienced, and that is she says that she was molested from grade 2 to grade 8, which we're guessing is about 5 years old to about 13 years old. And in that scenario, if she had become pregnant, that would be a scenario when she would have, and everyone around her would have encouraged her to get an abortion or to terminate a pregnancy. The question that I have right up front for this, that we didn't raise last time, is why would that need to be rare if it's, you know what I mean? Like if terminating a pregnancy is not murdering a child, then why would that need to be rare? Like, it should just be whenever you want it. It's not a child. It doesn't matter. Just kill it, right? It doesn't really need to be only in rare scenarios. But if you say that it's only in rare scenarios, you're kind of admitting that this is a human being that you don't want to have to kill. And in that case, how is you being way too young for you to properly have a child? Why is that a good reason to murder a child? Right? That might be a good reason for adoption. That might be a good reason for a host of other things, especially the electric chair for your abuser. But it's certainly not a good reason to murder a child. So either you admit that this is a serious thing and because it's murder of a child, or you say it's not murder of a child, it's just a clump of cells, which is biologically false. We know that with not just biology, also from the Bible, but every way you look at that, that's false. But if that's the case, then just, abortion as much as you want, right? What the heck is the matter? Why would we care? We care because everyone knows this is a human child.
Yeah, I mean, any argument from that side that doesn't start with, this isn't a child, it's pointless. And that's generally the argument you get is anything else. They don't usually go to that argument that this isn't a child. That's not something they do because that's a losing battle as well. But that's how is that not the only thing you have, right? Yeah. Because if that's that's killing a child, that ends every other argument. And secondly, something else we didn't get to, if she's against abortion in all these other cases, but just for rape, incest, those sorts of things, then she should be for Roe versus Wade being overturned, because Roe v. Wade says you can't mess with abortion in the first trimester, whether it's rape, incest, or anything else. So if she's truly what she says she is, a Christian, that, I just want it in certain circumstances, certain extreme circumstances, okay, then you should be happy that Roe v. Wade was overturned, and then your state can come in and say, hey, we'll have abortions in just these circumstances. I don't agree with that, but why doesn't she, if that's what she's saying?
Yeah. So we're going to pick up where we left off. This is her saying that she's very pro-life, but she wishes that Roe versus Wade hadn't been overturned, which is laughable and obviously false. But that's her claim, and we'll pick up from that.
Am I crazy, Irma? I'm pretty freaking mad. And if you aren't mad, then I would say you're uninformed.
By the way, it sounds like Irma's a pretty sensible person. She said that she was crazy. Irma seems like a pretty sensible person.
Because I care a lot about life, which is why I support Roe v. Wade. And
Yeah, that's where we left off last time. Pretty laughable.
Again, if you're not paying attention, that's your problem. I have worked as a child advocate, as a court-appointed special advocate for the majority of my adult life. I volunteered and saw the most disgusting, despicable, horrific things that a human being can see. I have seen children who were raped, who were carrying their father's child. I have seen children forced to carry to term.
What do you mean forced to carry to term? Who forced them to carry to term? What she's saying here is, I have seen children forced to not murder the child that was put in them when they were molested. Okay. Okay. All right. That's a disgusting, despicable scenario. Okay. But why all this animosity towards this innocent child that's just come into existence because of the wickedness of some evil, despicable human being who molested another person? Like, why is this, forced to carry to term, forced not to murder the child that came from it? Of course you're forced not to murder the child. Of course, right? Like, it's a terrible thing. And she should be, like, set for life. Every single asset that terrible man has should be sold and given to her so that she never has to work a day in her life. That man should be put to death. And literally everything he has should be given her. Absolutely, 100%, all those things. But you don't murder the child. That's ridiculous. That's trying to absolve the man of his guilt by murdering a child. That's ridiculous.
So she says she's seen all these horrible things, right? She's seen children who've been raped, forced to carry to term, all these horrible things. Has she seen an abortion? Has she seen a child ripped limb from inside the womb? Has she seen, like we saw a few weeks ago in the episode that we did about the DC clinic, the babies that we saw? We showed pictures of those with their heads caved in and ripped apart. Some of them still in the sack there. Have you seen that? That's pretty awful too. Why is one more awful than the other? Why are you this thing has already happened. The rape has already happened, and that is a horrible thing. Do not get us wrong. That is a terrible thing. But why would you add a second terrible thing to what has already happened?
Yeah.
That's the problem here.
That's such a good point. You have one parent, in her scenario, one parent molesting a child. And so the answer is that child should then murder her child. So she becomes as bad or even worse than her father who molested her. Like, how is that good? That's not good, right? We need to advocate against rape, against incest, against all of this stuff, and against murder at the same time, right? We don't say, well, in the case of rape, we murder people. No, that's not how that goes.
By the way, in Alabama, there was a case that went forward that's the father, the rapist of the child, filed for custody of his child. She was unable to abort because of the law, and then she was forced to share custody with her abuser. This is why Roe v. Wade matters. This is why we've been watching. And if you think it's funny, you can see your way off of my page.
No. Okay. So as we just said, that scenario is wrong. The father shouldn't have custody because the father
if it's true, obviously this went to a court, and a court obviously did not see it the way that she's seeing it. So if that's true, it's definitely wrong, and the people involved in that ruling seem like they need to be out of office, right? Go ahead, John.
I mean that is horrible, but as we've said before, I'm for stricter penalties. You don't need Roe v. Wade to hold a rapist accountable. That's the problem in that scenario, right? Now you also said she's forced to share custody of the what? The child? So it's a horrible thing that she's, sharing custody, which I think it is, that he's even still around. He should be in the grave, in the worst possible way. But it's still a child. You just said it's a child. You wanted to murder it. How does that make this scenario better? It does not. It never does. And what the girl has to deal with afterwards, if there is an abortion, say in this scenario there was, What she has to deal with for the rest of her life is that her child was murdered, was killed. And she has to bear that. And some people, some of the more depraved people are okay with that. But there's a lot of people that, they never get over it. They're haunted by that for a long time. That's because we're made in the image of God. We know this is wrong inherently. And yet it happens. And so Roe v. Wade is not what was protecting, that whole scenario. What needs to happen there is if like you said, if that's true, he needs to go. He needs to be gone, and she needs to take care of this child. And like you said, everything should be made available to her. And I believe that if we made these rape laws stricter and we said, yeah, you're done. That's it. You rape somebody, whether it's the child or not, you're dead. That's it. You'll see rapes go down quite a bit.
Yeah.
I don't think you'll have this scenario almost at all. Maybe once in a while, but very, very rarely.
Yeah. Now they're trying to make pedophilia legal, and incest. Incest will be next. All of these things will become legal. And so, it's the problem is the culture is going further and further into insane sexual liberation, and the byproduct of that is unwanted children, right? And so abortion is their escape route, so that they can continue go into extreme sexual practice however they want and not have to worry about the consequences. And now they're upset. Why? Because consequences are coming, right? But here's the thing. A child is a wonderful, wonderful consequence. It's the good thing, right? The sex outside of marriage, bad, right? The emotional turmoil, all the other things, bad. The child, good, right? This is the glorious silver lining to all of this. This is the thing like, oh man, I made so many mistakes and I should never have done this, but I love my child. You will find this, if you don't murder the child, that you're going to absolutely fall in love with that child, and you're going to say, what would I do without this? I can't believe that through all of my messy life and all the choices I made that were wrong, that God still blessed me through all of that with this precious child. That's what you're going to find if you aren't indoctrinated to think that the answer is murdering children when you have one that you don't want.
It's an all-out war on children from the left.
Yeah.
If they can't kill them in the womb, they want to indoctrinate them as soon as they can with gender ideology, sexualizing them at a very young age. And like you said, what's coming next is the legalization of pedophilia, which they've already paved the way for with this whole transgender nonsense amongst kids. What are you going to do as a kid? They just hate them. They hate kids from beginning to end. Yeah. They do.
Go. I really have zero tolerance for it. So for those of you who thought that the pro-choice people were unethical or immoral, look me in the eye and tell me that if I had been pregnant by my stepdad, that I should carry that baby to term. That you...
Okay, let me look you in the eye. Okay, I'm going to look you straight in the eye. If you had been pregnant by your stepdad, you should carry that baby to term, because the only other option is murdering the baby, and that is not okay. If you can find a third option where you're not murdering the child and you're not carrying it to term, you can do that as well. That's fine. But you don't murder children. Period. Murder the stepdad.
Yeah, I mean, there's also adoption. You know, people want to say, oh, but there's so many kids that don't get adopted, that not newborns, not infants. There's waiting lists a mile long for newborns and infants. That's not something that you have to worry about. But even if there wasn't, again, don't get into the weeds. You don't kill a kid. This is not hard.
You would be okay with that. You would be okay with that for your child. You would be okay with that for yourself.
Yes.
Never mind, we actually have clinically indicated problems that require this. Do you think that an abortion is only killing a living being?
Oh, she had to be careful. She almost said a baby.
Said it. Oh no. She almost went there.
She almost said a baby.
Almost fell apart.
There are literal medical abortions that are simply necessary for the survival of a mother, and they involve a dead fetus. That's going to be made impossible.
Okay, first of all, that is
very minute,
extremely rare. And again, Roe versus Wade had nothing to do with those. It just told states that they could not make laws restricting abortion. But I think before the third trimester or something like that. That's all that Roe versus Wade did. So this is just complete red herring, has nothing to do with anything. If you're in a situation where either the mother dies or the baby dies, then you're saving a life. You're not taking a life. Because if the mother dies, the baby dies too, right? So this is a sad, extremely rare scenario. But the doctors work to save as many lives as they can. If they can only save one, they only save one. They're not killing a life. They're trying to save lives, as many as possible.
There have been interviews with doctors where they've asked them about this whole scenario, and they say that's basically non-existent. You can maybe calculate some things here and there that say, well, this might be. However, if you deliver the baby early and the baby, dies tragically, then, and if you didn't, then the mother would die. Then you do everything you can to keep both lives continuing. You do everything to save both lives.
Yeah, especially with the technology
today. You don't kill
today.
the mother for the baby. You don't kill the baby for the mother. That's what you do. You treat it like a life. That's how easy this is. If it was a 5-year-old baby, boy or girl, or toddler at that point, if it was a 5-year-old, 6-year-old, would you kill the kid to save the mother? No. If there was some sort of scenario where this happened, you would do everything you could to save both lives. It's the same circumstance, same thing.
Exactly.
And it's going to, in fact, become criminal. Women should not be investigated for miscarriages. Our bodies are off limits to you.
Yeah, okay. But if you're killing another body, then that's not off limits. And by the way, your body is not off limits if you've murdered somebody. Right? If I murder someone, I cannot turn to the police and say, my body is off limits to you. Take your hands off of me. No. They absolutely have the right to investigate me, to put my body in handcuffs, to put my body in jail because I murdered somebody. Okay, so when we're talking about killing other human beings, now if you have a miscarriage, that's not murder, right? Okay, this is not on the table. Nobody's talking about investigating people for miscarriages, right? I mean, it's very obvious. It's very obvious when someone dies. Okay, you go to the hospital, somebody dies at the hospital. Police don't come and investigate you because somebody died, right? If there's suspicion about how that person died, then they probably will investigate. So if there's suspicion about you purposely trying to kill a baby in your womb, then of course they're going to come investigate. So, I mean, look, either we trust the police to investigate murders or we don't. But we don't go out and murder because, murder should be legal because otherwise it will be investigated by the police. Right? I mean, that doesn't make any sense.
What she said there was, my body is off limits to you. I really wish that the silent masses had a voice. They don't, because they're dead before they ever had a chance to speak. But how many of those babies would say, my body is off limits to you?
Yeah.
Was it? It wasn't. You did whatever you wanted to that body, and it wasn't yours. It wasn't your choice to make, and you did it anyways.
Yeah. Your baby's body is off limits to you as if you want to murder it. Also, by the way, she seems to be taking her frustration out about her abuser on everyone who wants her not to murder a child. Okay, she should be telling her abuser, "My body is off limits to you." Right? So that's a proper attitude towards the abuser. My body's off limits to you. And most scenarios of abortion aren't about abuse. They're about people not saying my body isn't off limits. In fact, they're throwing their body at people and having natural consequences of that. Anyway, so yeah, she needs to say my body is off limits to her abuser, and the abuser needs to face the proper penalties for that. Death, by the way.
And you know who's making these decisions? A bunch of sacks of flesh that can't carry babies in DC. They don't care about you. They do not.
Well, hold on, wait a minute. They're sacks of flesh, but they because they can't carry what? Fetuses? No, they can't carry babies.
Oh, she messed up again.
Do you see how inconsistent this is?
What have you done? Why is this so hard? Maybe it's because it's a baby.
By the way, the three justices who voted against this can't carry babies either. Well, At least some of them.
The ones who made the decision to overturn Roe included a woman, included a black man. The ones who not codified, but made the decision on Roe versus Wade initially, the Supreme Court that said yes, this is the law of the land.
Bunch of white men.
They were all white men, white men,
old white men.
That that argument is completely non-existent. Don't even try.
You could use the same argument against Roe. Actually, much more effectively.
Care about you. They care about power, and they're going to maintain power. And now they...
Okay, abortion literally is about power and money for the Democrats. That's why they can't figure out... That's why they can't figure out why we are against abortion. They think, well, they must hate women or something. Like, they couldn't possibly actually care about children that aren't theirs. We couldn't possibly actually be caring individuals who don't want to see murder in our country. Surely there's some ulterior motives of the Republicans for being against abortion, because that's why the Democrats are for abortion. They're making tons of money. Planned Parenthood is a giant sponsor of every Democrat candidate. And guess what? All the Democrats vote to give Planned Parenthood money that eventually comes back to them, right? Power and money is the reason why abortion exists in America today. So don't tell me that we ended Roe versus Wade for power and money.
That's absolutely true. And power, I mean, the Supreme Court justices aren't going anywhere. They have the power that they were after, I guess.
Yeah.
What difference does this make? This is the natural progression of a failed argument every single time. When you can't make the correct or any sort of persuasive argument, you start devolving into this whole, well, this is what they're after. This is what... No. Yeah. Try to make a coherent argument, because you haven't yet.
We're going to let this run for 1 or 2 more minutes and just see how much more we can get of it.
It's going to be
been
hard.
given more power because they've taken away our rights. You don't believe me? Then ask
what about
your
the rights of babies?
obstetrician how easy it's going to be to get an IUD this year, because those are the first thing that are going to become illegal. Next up, your miscarriage meds. Next up, gay marriage. And if you thought that this was okay and was only about abortion, you were wrong. Because again, Clarence Thomas has already pushed forward his opinion that it should be illegal. Welcome to the Handmaid's Tale that you created. And I am
Christian
hoping that if you are here
It's
and listening to me, that you will stay angry and stay loud, and do not let a single damn person tell you that you cannot love Jesus and be a Christian and want medical privacy. Because I do.
Just throws it in as an addition.
I am a Christian. I am a mother. I care about life. I'm a living kidney donor. I have worked as a children's advocate for abused.
I am a Christian. Okay, we got to stop there. All right, that's it.
She
that's
just throws it in as like a patch. Like, there's no proof for this, but I'm a Christian, so what I say has more meaning and it has more validity. No, it doesn't. You can just say you're a Christian. There's no proof whatsoever that you're a Christian. You haven't even tried to make that point. You've advocated for abortion. You've advocated for gay marriage. You have nothing you have said is remotely Christian.
Yeah, I am a Christian. She says, I am a mother. Here's the thing. That doesn't give you the moral high ground to say that you should be able to murder children. That just makes you a really bad Christian and a really bad mother. Okay? Or just not really a Christian and a terrible mother. Listen, okay, let's boil this down, because we only got about a minute left. Christianity is about truth, but to be a Christian, you've got to admit the truth about yourself, that you're a sinner and you've got to repent, right? This woman is advocating for murdering children. This is the opposite of repentance. There is no reason at all, besides her saying, I'm a Christian, there's zero reason for us to think she actually is. Jonathan?
So when I approach this subject, I kind of like to relate it to something that makes it a little bit easier for people to understand. Because there's, like we said from the beginning, and in the last episode, this episode, the other side will try to drag this into the weeds. That's the only place they can go, because straight up with fact against fact, it's not even close. This is very simple. So what you can do is you can always relate it to a 2-year-old child, a 5-year-old child, and then say, does that stand up? Rape? So if someone is raped and they carry the child and the child is born and they're 5 years old and the mother decides, I was raped, I shouldn't have to have this kid. Is it okay to kill the kid then? Of course not. Incest, life of the mother, all of these things fall apart when you recognize that this is a child, and that's one way you can do it.
Absolutely
But
right. We got to leave it there.
Just don't get.
Yeah, we got to leave it there.
Sorry.
Absolutely right.
I'll let
Thanks
it
for
go.
joining us. This on Point of View. We'll see you next time.